Welcome to the December 2024 issue of Rollforming magazine. This podcast issue is sponsored by United Steel Supply. www.unitedsteelsupply.com. You can jump ahead to any article you'd like with our chapter selection below or listen to the broadcast in full.
Steel Market Update, authored by the Rollforming magazine staff. Each week, Majestic Steel USA, majesticsteel.com, a steel service center that distributes prime, flat-rolled galvanized steel sheets and coils to industries across the United States, compiles the core report. The report is an in-depth look at key indicators and trends driving the steel market. Market volatility demands your attention about what's driving prices, when, and why. Data sources are listed in each section. Majestic Steel has granted Rollforming magazine permission to publish information excerpted from the report for its readers. Domestic steel production. According to the American Iron and Steel Institute, weekly domestic steel production report dated November 5th, U.S. mill production dipped slightly, producing an estimated 1,629 tons and a 73.3% rate utilization rate. This was down 2% week over week to the lowest level since early October. Production decreased in all 5 regions, with the largest decrease in tons coming from the Midwest region. Production from the Midwest region decreased from 196 tons to 186 tons. Global steel production. According to the World Steel Global Steel Production Report for September 2024, global steel production increased in September after sliding the previous 2 months. September global steel production came in at a 4.787 million metric ton day rate, up 2.6% from August, but was still down on a year-over-year basis. Year-over-year production was down for the third consecutive month, sliding 4.7% from a 5.024 million metric ton day rate in September 2023. Production increased in both China and throughout the rest of the world in September, climbing 2.2% and 3.1%, respectively. Despite the month-over-month increase, Chinese production continued to slide on a year-over-year basis and remains below the YTD average. NAFTA production slipped slightly from August and was down on a year-over-year basis for the 9th consecutive month. Recent scrap pricing. According to Prime Scrap Price, market conversations for the week ending October 18th. The scrap market remained stable in mid-October, settling flat for the 5th consecutive month. Prime scrap settled at $380 per G in October. Although tight scrap supply, strong export demand, and an upward trend in the futures market have contributed to some stability, there have been no significant changes in the market over the past 5 months. Mill maintenance outages along with the recent hurricanes have disrupted scrap supply, particularly in the South, leading to a $20 increase in the Arkansas-Tennessee region. Shredded scrap pricing increased slightly in October, climbing 5 to 375 ZNE. Spot iron ore. The Platts Spot Iron Ore report dated November 8th reports that pricing ticked up to $103.55 mille, up from $102.60 millis the week prior. This is up 1% after sliding 8% throughout the month of October. Raw material pricing is expected to see headwinds in the coming months as President-elect Trump's tariff policy will likely impact top buyer China's economy, exports, and overall steel production. Mill price increase. According to the mill price increase letter from U.S. Steel Big River Steel dated October 24, while pricing has been trading steadily over the past 4 months, U.S. Steel Big River Steel made a move to push pricing higher by releasing new spot pricing for all flat-rolled products. It increased pricing by $30 state for all spot orders. The full library of core reports from Majestic Steel USA can be accessed at majesticsteel.com/majesticinsights/core report. Partial disclaimer. The content herein is for informational purposes only, and under no circumstances should it be relied upon as advice or recommendations for any particular business or activity, or be construed as an offer to sell or a solicitation to buy any future contract, material, option, security, or derivative, including foreign exchange. All content, graphics, and trademarks incorporated in or forming a part of this report are owned by Majestic Steel USA, Inc., or its third-party providers. All rights are reserved. In no event shall Majestic Steel or any third-party provider, or any of their respective affiliates, officers, directors, employees, agents, or licensors, be liable to you or to anyone else for any direct, special, incidental, indirect, punitive, consequential damages, or any other loss or injury caused in whole or in part by contingencies beyond their control, or any negligence, including any gross negligence, in procuring, providing, compiling, interpreting, editing, writing, reporting, transmitting, or delivering the content. The way we roll: learning, collaborating, sharing experience. All Star Metals, Inc. sees industry as a competitive brotherhood outside the box. We hear it all the time. Look outside the box. But where does looking out of that box leave you? In the metal shingle industry, perhaps. At least that's what happened when James Weber found that the wood dust from furniture building was negatively impacting his health. He probed for an alternative opportunity. What Weber saw was a need for something other than asphalt-shingled roofs, which were prevalent in the St. Jacobs, Ontario area. Weber thought metal would be a better choice. He began manufacturing metal roof shakes from 28-gauge blanks, so began All Star Metals, Inc. Product line, markets, and service. It wasn't long before the new company began expanding their product line. They started roll-forming 26-gauge standing seam with a mobile roll former, allowing them to provide value-added service, manufacturing panels at the job site. This is a niche opportunity in a market dominated by barn steel, aka ag panel, roll formers. They then acquired 3 new machines from CSC in 2022, which further expanded their offerings with a 10-inch board and batten siding, 60-inch soffit, and a 30-inch barn steel panel. 2024 brought a 24-gauge standing seam roll former from New Tech Machinery. A roll former was acquired to expand their siding portfolio, adding 15 new profiles. They got their start as a company providing metal shingles for re-roof and new builds, partnering with local contractors who do the actual installation. The area has more than a dozen metal roofing shops within an hour's radius. But, comments Simon Zier of marketing, competition is healthy. It strengthens the industry and provides consumers with many choices in metal. We focus on service with a fast turnaround, and to facilitate that we keep a large inventory of coil in stock, Zier said. Package turnaround is usually within 2 weeks, with trims, roof, underlayment. Their mission is to get the customer what they need quickly. For re-roofing over asphalt on a budget, they offer through-fastened panels. However, Algoma shingles are another well-received option, while standing seam is their signature product. Challenges. Beginning a company in a whole new medium is a huge challenge in and of itself. Think oil canning, Zier said. Naturally, this was a new concept when they came from the world of wood. They overcame these initial challenges through collaboration with experienced people in the industry. It is in roll formers' best interests to support each other, Zier said. The roll-forming community did not disappoint. During the COVID-19 shipping crisis, the company was challenged to obtain enough steel, which proved to be a blessing in disguise. We dealt primarily with Colored Steels, Inc., and the limited availability led us to expand our supply horizons. We began new partnerships with Taylor Steel and Cascadia Metals Ltd., Zier said. Business success. The company has experienced steady growth throughout 7 years of doing business. Zier credits a number of things for it, including a team of dedicated employees. Zier said, James, the company's owner, advocates work-life balance, sponsoring a summer picnic, a Christmas dinner, and various perks throughout the year. Put it this way, whenever the company has had a great year, we all have a great year. The mobility of the company's services is another component of their success. Employees take portable roll formers to job sites to roll panels, bringing the shop-made trims with them. They also offer rental of a Swenson Snap Table Pro and various seaming tools. Their machines are Eastwood, New Tech, and Rollformer LLC rollformers, Swenson shears, and a CSC soffit machine from Washington. All of these machines have been fantastic to work with, Zier said. Goals and trends. The company has its eye on a new location nearby, with plans for moving operations to a larger facility. The COVID-19 era bubble appears to have burst. Sales are still good, but leads require more time and tend to ask about more options before committing. Zier sees more challenges on the horizon. We may need to work on finding new products and/or techniques to keep costs down, but all in all, the future of metal looks healthy, Zier said. Rolling the industry forward, SAMCO unites people power with technology. Authored by Linda Schmid, A Brief History. In the 70s, rollforming was the up-and-coming industry, and Joe Ripovs, a family man with a wife and a baby, had a dream to start a rollforming shop of his own. He had learned from Ernie Bodnar, who was considered the king of rollforming in Toronto. Joe had set the ball in motion, but getting a company started from scratch was not that easy. So, he began looking for a second job. It was during an interview with a tube forming company, Joe realized that his heart wasn't in doing a job. He needed to focus on his own project. That's where his true passion lay. Since the day he made that decision, Joe never looked back. In September of 1972, the company had a small office in Toronto. Tooling was done in-house, and roll forming and other production was out-of-house. The company's first big order was to manufacture a machine that produced steel studs for a commercial building. Then, an order for an equipment to manufacture T-bars for the construction of schools and offices came in, and the company was off and running. By 1981, Joe was joined by two partners, Carl Bari and Jim Zarnai, an engineer and plant manager. The team brought new innovation to the company. They designed their own machines, which enabled SAMCO machinery to stand out in the marketplace. They upgraded their headquarters for greater space throughout the 80s, adding more product offerings to their equipment offerings, including air presses and uncoilers. By the 90s, the company was making custom machines, and they broke into several other industries, including, but not limited to, automotive, shelving and racking, metal decking, metal roofs, purlins, garage doors, and they continued to develop a following in the steel framing industry. At that time, the machinery required working in one size at a time. Further, it could take a full day to change from one size to another. SAMCO took that on as a challenge, and by the mid-90s, their stud maker was able to change sizes in minutes. In the 2000s, the software transition began. The company adopted an Enterprise Resource Planning (ERP) system for easy project information access, and COPRA, engineering software for tooling design that points out the structural stresses and allows corrections to be made online. The next step moved customer service forward with a project manager process. Every project is assigned a dedicated engineer and milestones to be attained. This system helps them keep the customer apprised of progress. Continuous improvement and marketing. In 1997, Bob Ripovs, the current president and CEO, joined the company full-time. One of the first things he did was ensure the proper processes were in place to get the company ISO 9001 certified in 1998, making them the first in their industry to achieve this certification. In 1998, Lisa Ripovs was named marketing director. She understood the importance of attending trade shows to build relationships with their customers and to showcase their product capabilities. While Lisa has moved on, the company still attends the shows regularly. People Power SAMCO machinery embraces diversity. One of the rather unusual things about the company is the flag display on the wall. It includes over 40 different flags representing the nationalities that make up their workforce. Three things they all have in common. They are all SAMCO employees, and they are passionate about their work and helping their customers. The thing about passionate people, says Bob Ripovs, is that they will disagree sometimes. Only passionate people rock the boat, and often, through listening to each other's point of view, the best ideas are discovered. Everything SAMCO does is customer-centric. They maintain that focus by asking themselves if they are doing what the customer asked for. If not, they are wasting the customer's time, he added. The labor challenge. Finding people can be a challenge for SAMCO, just as it is for most other companies. The best advice Bob can give is when talking to prospective employees, ask them what they want from their career. You can find out how passionate people are when you get them to talk about their work. The company sees that many people who may have an aptitude never really consider trade school as an option to get their career rolling, so they partner with schools, inviting students to explore roll forming and CNC tooling at presentations and open houses. They believe that this type of exposure can help expand the workforce. What is more challenging is keeping good people. They have found that the key is in giving employees the freedom to accept responsibility. When they do that, a true sense of pride in the final product is engendered. A person can know that a project was enhanced by their participation. This kind of mindset keeps work interesting and rewarding. The company has many long-term employees, like Jaswinder Bhatti, who has been with the company for 38 years. Industry trends. The current trend in the industry is great speed in production. Everyone wants a machine that goes faster. Even material handling, which was just an afterthought pre-COVID, is now part of the conversation around fast turnarounds. Rollformers want automated systems that will bundle and prepare big jobs for shipment much faster than humans could ever hope to. One of the challenges the need for speed engenders is helping customers to make the most of the space they have, since automation systems can require a lot of room. The steel framing industry is booming, and SAMCO believes that it is bringing a lot of opportunity for manufacturers and suppliers of steel framing components. Further, various quality levels of metal may be used for a roll-forming company's customers based on their project's budget constraints, so you have to investigate what the roll-former really needs from their machines. Rolling into the future. In the roll-forming industry, speed is the word, Bob notes. Speed and better material handling are needed because the labor challenges aren't going away. We need to innovate to make machines more efficient. The company is looking at different markets for expansion. There are many different types of roll forming they could explore, whether that's specific types of panels for decks, making them customizable, or other opportunities. Bob believes that it's nice to make these tools accessible to small customers. Bob Rapovs is on board with driving improvements. We will continue to improve on SEM, search engine marketing, SEO, search engine optimization, online videos, and every marketing tool at our disposal to introduce ourselves into companies and industries that may never have heard of SAMCO before, to help them achieve their goals. Bob believes that as a global innovator in roll-forming industry, SAMCO machinery has only begun to tap into its full potential. We are poised for significant growth alongside both new and existing customers and are well equipped to expand our expertise across multiple industries. Yet, at its core, SAMCO machinery will always prioritize our customers' needs as the most important KPI. Handling Coil, Preventing Damage and Injury. Authored by Courtney Glover. Handling coil while moving or storing is a precise process in order to avoid damaging the product or causing injury to the handler. Utilizing the wrong equipment or using the proper equipment incorrectly may adversely impact the quality of the product and/or risk the safety of the individuals involved. Moving the coil properly, storing it efficiently, and utilizing the correct equipment safely is an important part of any construction metal forming business. Equipment. Nelson Miller of Star One Products says that coils come into the facility's eye to the sky, meaning the center of the coil is facing upward or towards the sky. The metal coil is wound around a cardboard core and delivered on a pallet. You need a coil tipper to get the roll eye to the side in order to feed the roll former line. Star One Products builds coil pallets and racking used to store the coils eye to the side. Miller states that using a Star One coil handler is an efficient way to swap out coils on a roll-forming line, minimizing coil damage and cutting down on changeover time. Martin McVicar, the CEO of Combalift, explains why Metrol added multi-directional forklifts to their fleet as a safer and more efficient solution for roll-forming shops than regular forklifts. Metrol opted for the Combalift versatile 3-in-1 counterbalance, side loader, and reach forklift truck, as they can lift coils both eye to the side or sky by either placing the forks through the center of the coil or by lifting them via pallets or skids. The coils then retracted between the forklift legs, distributing 4 to 10 tons of weight evenly over the wheels for a greater load stability. In sideloader mode, the same truck easily carries their roll-formed cladding, up to 50 feet long, through confined areas or doorways while keeping the load low to the ground, improving operator visibility, increasing overall storage density, and making their operations much safer. Storage strategies: eye to the sky or eye to the side. We store coils eye to the sky until they are used for roll forming, Paul Zimmerman of Hickswood describes. Finished coils are stored this way to avoid damage to the painted surface and to maximize storage space, allowing for more tons per square foot of warehouse space. However, Zimmerman continues to explain that whip coils, instead, are stored eye to the side. When it is time to slide the coil into the decoiler, the coil is eye to the side so that the mandrel can slide into the eye and decoil, allowing the ability to slit the coil to the size that is needed for the job. Automated coil handling. There are benefits to automated coil handling. There is likely less coil damage when the machine automatically knows where the coil is. The coil is less likely to hit the edge, as the machine comes to and picks up from the same place each time. There is less human error and potentially fewer employees and operators needed altogether. Other potential benefits include increased speed and uptime. Automated machines can work faster than a human operator. Reduced scrap due to more accurate cutting, higher throughput, lower costs, and improved packaging are additional advantages. With the benefits, however, are disadvantages such as the initial costs, lead times, machine problems, maintenance, and potential safety issues. Common hazards and how to avoid them. Due to their weight and size, handling metal coils can be very risky. McViker explains that incorrect weight-to-lift ratio calculations can lead to accidents or equipment failures. This may also cause damage during transit, leading to costly downtime if damaged coils are used in machinery. Similarly, Miller suggests using a forklift or truck that is overrated for the weight of the coil and never underrated to ensure that the equipment can safely manage the weight. He points out that these coils reach up to 10,000 pounds and could be fatal if they fall on someone. Zimmerman suggests that one of the most overlooked things about coil safety is that the company should work with their local fire inspector in case of a fire. The company should be upfront with the inspector on where and how high the coils are stored. It is important to explain this and teach the operators to avoid this area during a fire, due to the fact that pallets would burn out in between the coil stacks. This would likely cause coils to fall through walls, causing harm to employees, firefighters, and/or equipment if in the area. While acknowledging major hazards, such as fires, Miller reminds us that simple mistakes may severely impact the product, causing severe damage as well. When moving coil off of a rack to the decoiler, if the edge or side is nicked, it can damage a lot of footage of the coil. He explains how one nick or blemish can ruin the whole coil, depending on where the damage is. Quality control is of the utmost importance in order to protect the product quality and production efficiency. To combat this, McVicar explains that their focus is to minimize the number of times a coil is lifted or transported. Double handling of coils increases the risk of damage and production loss if a damaged coil goes unnoticed. Additionally, Zimmerman strongly suggests that along with initial forklift training for new drivers, there needs to be ongoing refresher trainings to keep awareness of safe forklift practices. Conclusion. In conclusion, it's clear that handling and storing metal coils is no minor task, but it is crucial for any construction metal forming business. The right techniques and equipment can make all the difference, not just in protecting the coils themselves, but also in keeping everyone safe on the job. Regardless of which storage strategy is used, the focus on safety and efficiency should always be front and center. And as we move into a more automated future, it's exciting to think about the potential benefits, though it's important to keep in mind the challenges that come with it. Don't forget, common hazards are lurking around every corner, so regular training and a strong safety culture are key. New employees are usually on guard and cautious, but familiarity often leads to complacency. Also, by prioritizing quality control and minimizing double handling, you can avoid costly mistakes that could derail production. At the end of the day, being proactive about how you handle coils can boost productivity and help maintain high standards. The best practice is to keep refining processes and ensuring that everyone goes home safe at the end of their shift. Courtney Glover is a freelance writer and photographer based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. When not contributing her talents to various publications, Courtney writes YA fiction under the pen name Courtney Christine. Metal Panel Production, Running Lean, authored by Stephen Wilkinson, MBA, Certified Lean Practitioner. Companies that produce metal roofing components can improve capacity and shorten lead times with no capital expense. Here's how you can do it too. You have positioned your roll formers, shears, and folders brakes and are satisfied that you are making money, but you would like to make more and to shorten the time you promise customers to deliver their orders. Not only will I show you how to reduce labor costs, but at the same time increase capacity and shorten lead times so you can gain more customers with competitive lead times. This is so simple that it works. Situation: I found that manufacturers of metal roofing panels and trim elements look for ways to shorten lead times to customers so they could be more competitive and earn more business. As an industrial engineer and continuous improvement leader for Procter & Gamble, Gillette, Amgen, and other clients, I learned to optimize your current process first before adding people or buying new equipment to build capacity. The task was to shorten lead times without any large purchases. Execution: we do this by eliminating motion, waiting, and transport wastes that exist in every process. Machine operators running roll formers, shears, and folders must remain at their machines producing components. Every time they leave the machine to change coils or to get materials like flats and bring them to their workstation, their machine is down, not making parts, increasing your lead time and spending labor on non-value-adding tasks. Time studies are made observing the operators to document each step of their process and how long that step took. It was determined that as much as 25% of their time was lost, wasted, getting materials such as coils or flat sheets. In an 8-hour shift, as many as 2 hours were lost by the roll former operator alone handling materials, leaving the machine down, losing capacity, and delaying the production of components. The same is true for shear and folder operators. This adds up. You can do these calculations yourself for your shop, but keep these two principles in mind. 1. The only value-adding work your team does are the limited steps in which the raw materials are being physically converted, not moving them around. Work that adds value includes roll forming panels, shearing, and folding. Work that does not add value, waste, includes retrieving the next coil, tipping coils, getting a forklift and retrieving flat stock, moving stock from the shear to a folder, packaging, moving finished panels and trim pieces to storage. There are techniques to minimize these activities. Moving materials does not add value. Many of those steps seem necessary, but only because you have not yet figured out how to eliminate them or shorten the time required. 2. Store materials and tools as close as possible to their point of use, POU. So, how do we keep operators on their machines, keeping them running? We assign one employee to be a material handler. They are responsible for keeping an eye on the schedule of work orders and watching the operations closely to know when specific materials must be delivered to a workstation. This person is also assigned additional tasks such as cleaning, 5S, organizing, simple maintenance, or part-time machine operator tasks that fit into available spaces among the material handling tasks. Results. Example. Refer to the sample analysis of productivity shown. Equipment scope in these calculations. One roll former, running at about 100 feet per minute. The client can run 1,000 more coil feet per year for the cost of a $21 material handler for approximately 167 hours, assuming just 3 coil changes per day. This is the result of approximately 167 hours per year of machine downtime while the machine operator handles material. Similar results can be achieved for your shears and folders. Stephen Wilkinson, Rapid Lean Coach at gmail.com, is a certified lean practitioner at rapidleancoach.com, a company that focuses on adding value for its clients. Fifth Construction Rollforming Show Bigger Than Ever. Authored by Karen Napstein. DeVos Place in Grand Rapids, Michigan, was the host venue of the 5th Annual Construction Rollforming Show, which was held September 18th and 19th, 2024. This trade show is the only event fully dedicated to forming light-gauge metal for the construction industry. This year's event was the largest yet, with nearly 70 exhibitors filling the show floor and a record-setting number of attendees. Once again, exhibitors and attendees benefited from the tightly focused expo. Brad Wasley of Ace Clamp said, "I very much prefer the intimate setting of a smaller regional show that gets to the contractors that don't care to participate in the international shows that are much larger." AccuForm's Wayne Troyer shared his goals for the show: meeting new and existing customer, making friends, and selling machines. The CRS was a great place to do just that. The show was made up of a lot of quality people. Noah Oberholzer of Hickswood had similar goals. "My main goal for the show was to meet new customer prospects, and I believe we succeeded in doing that. However, we were also overwhelmed with how many existing customers were there that we got to meet and talk with. For some of them, it was the first time we got to meet them face to face. Overall, the show was a great experience." It was the first time Lynn and Neil Warner exhibited the Steel Grip SAM. Neil had this to say about the experience: "Our Steel Grip SAM crew met so many nice and friendly people at the 2024 Construction Rollforming Show. It was a fun and informative experience to have conversations face-to-face with people committed to being better skilled in the steel building supply and construction industry. My wife, brother-in-law, and I were able to show hands-on, or rather feet-on, our new Safety Assist Magnetic Mat SAM mats. Attendees were actually able to lift, place, and walk on an 812 pitch steel ramp using SAM. Patrons realized safer footing and time savings were possible. Thanks to all those who put the show together." Also new this year was the Construction Industry Forum. Moderated by Source One Marketing's Randy Chafee, this inaugural panel consisted of professionals who are experts in various aspects of the construction industry. The panel consisted of Ben Schmidt, the Bradbury Company, Steve Swaney, Mid-South Aluminum, Bob Kula, Mill Steel, and Mike O'Hara, Levi's Building Components. The group has combined construction industry experience of more than 200 years, which attendees could take advantage of throughout the open forum session. The panel addressed several important questions and issues that construction metal forming businesses face, providing invaluable advice for those just starting and seasoned business veterans. Returning features favored among attendees were the educational seminars, complimentary breakfast, and the Rest Stop Retreat. This year, the Rest Stop Retreat area was sponsored by AccuForm and AkzoNobel. AccuForm providing seating, and AkzoNobel supplied coloring bags for all the children in attendance. Shield Wall Media recognizes that a large part of the construction roll-forming industry is made up of regional, family-run shops. We are dedicated to supporting this important segment of the industry by welcoming family participation. All proceeds from attendee entrance fees from the 2024 Construction Rollforming Show were donated to the Independence Fund. The Independence Fund is a 501(c)(3) organization that helps catastrophically wounded veterans by offering programs and services that promote the health and independence of American service members, combat veterans, and their caregivers and families. The organization's initiatives include mobility and adaptive technologies, suicide prevention, caregiver and family support, and advocacy for veterans with agencies at the federal and state levels. Learn more about the Independence Fund at independencefund.org. Show brings out roll-forming business advice from industry experts. The 2024 Construction Rollforming Show, produced by Shield Wall Media, featured the tried-and-true elements event-goers have come to expect. It also featured some new ones, including the Rollforming Industry Panel. This new show feature was held the morning before the expo floor opened, so attendees would not have to choose between meeting exhibitors and participating in the panel discussion. Moderated by Randy Chafee, Source One Marketing, the panelists included Ben Schmidt, who has been with the Bradbury Company for 19 years. He has served as industry sales manager for the metal building, trim, and decking industries since 2020. Credit is due to Steve Swanee of Mid-South Aluminum. After giving a talk at the Post Frame Builder Show, which is also produced by Shield Wall Media, Steve suggested hosting a panel discussion so whatever questions attendees had could be addressed. Steve followed his father into the industry and has spent 42 years in the pre-painted metals sector. Throughout that time, he has worked for mills, coil coating companies, and service centers. As mentioned earlier, Randy Chafee served as the panel moderator. He has more than 40 years of experience in the metal roofing, post-frame, and metal building industries. He owns Source One Marketing, a manufacturer's rep agency, and is the host of Building Wins Live, a weekly vlogcast and podcast for the building materials industry. Panelist Bob Kula is the sale manager for Mill Steel's Building Products business unit. Hailing from Houston, he's been in steel for 33 years, 28 of which have been with a service center, and 5 were with National Steel, now known as United States Steel. The final panelist was Mike O'Hara, who is the national sales manager at Levi's Building Components. Mike has 27 years of construction sales and marketing experience in a variety of professional trades. Show personnel gathered questions ahead of the event to get the conversation started. The first question asked, what are the questions that roll formers should be asking suppliers as they start lining them up for their business? O'Hara advises that you should make sure you understand lead times. I think an important thing, regardless of what you're buying from your suppliers, is to understand their lead times. Is there seasonality in that service? You'll probably know your competition to begin with. You might want to reach out to a fellow roll former in the area and talk to them about who they're working with. And then once you decide, try to get a sales rep out there right away. A lot of these sales reps have a lot of experience and they understand the market and they can really help you build your business. Bob Kula adds, my biggest thing, being a coil supplier, would be the financial end of it. Talk to your suppliers. Normally when you go into roll forming, you are either an installer or you used to work for a former company and you're starting your own business. You probably don't have any credit. If you were an installer, you have some credit, but it's not enough for a truckload of steel or multiple truckloads of steel. And be honest with the credit people on the supply side, Kula continues. Whether it's the components or the steel, tell them I'm new, and most times they'll work with you and grow that credit line. Steve Swanee advises you know what your immediate objectives are before you begin. Some of the main questions to ask suppliers would be, when you're looking at a new business as a roll former, are you going to be a component supplier? Or are you going to be a turnkey building products supplier? Are you going to have your own crews? Are you going to sell wholesale? Are you going to sell to the contractor sector? I think those things are very important. It's hard to be a blended company and do those without somewhere in the not-too-distant future having some conflicts and issues. And then line up your supply chain based on where you think you're going to be if you're a component guy. You're going to obviously focus on panel and trim. If you're going to sell turnkey buildings, then you obviously have to supply a number of things, including fasteners, insulations, skylights, things of that nature. So, have a good concept and an idea of what you're looking to do going into your business, and also know your competition in your region to know where your niche may be. Ben Schmidt addresses equipment considerations. As far as the equipment side of things, equipment suppliers are going to be selling you folders and roll formers. But probably the biggest thing is, when you're talking to somebody, you want to make sure you understand when that machine's in there, its job is to produce parts. So if you're not making parts, you're not making money, right? So the big thing is to understand the equipment supplier's ability to support you, the end user. And specific to that point, find out 1, do they have technicians that travel? And then 2, how many of them are there? And so it means if you have just 1 or 2 guys out there, then you don't want to be waiting weeks upon weeks as we come in and fix your machine. The other thing Ben recommends is asking them about the service capabilities. I'd ask them about if they can dial in and support you remotely from a home base, from a headquarters area. That's very important. And then also ask where the parts come from. Because machines break. It doesn't matter whose machine it is. The goal was always, how do we get that machine back up and going quickly? And if you can go to Grainger versus having to wait for a part from wherever, that's very, very important. And then as far as questions to ask, or a question that I'm going to want to know if you're talking to me, he continues, and it's probably the biggest challenge, and the same thing for the guys on the steel side, is volume. Are you currently buying out X number of truckloads a week, a day, what have you, so we can make sure we provide you a quote for the appropriately sized equipment? Another important point the panel addressed is common mistakes newcomers make and how they can be avoided. Mike says, well, I'm sure that some of the equipment folks will say buying subpar equipment isn't probably going to help your overall product. He adds, customers like options. They like unique colors. I think as we drive towards premium products, we can help each other improve our margins, our reputation. I think it's really important that we attempt to elevate this industry. Bob cautions, don't try to be everything to everybody. If you were an installer before, and now you're going to roll form a certain panel, roll form 1 panel. Don't try to roll form 10 like McElroy Metals does, or 20 panels. You're going to go broke. Offer 6 or 8 standard colors, and then everything else offer as special order. If you're good and you have service, people will come to you eventually. But if you overpromise and underdeliver, and you don't have the funds to buy the coils or the material needed to make the panels, you're going to be in trouble. Steve adds to the advice. Make sure you have enough business to substantiate a roll former. I mean, if it's only running 5 to 10 hours a week, it's probably not the right investment for you at that point in time. Know your business going in. Know your competition in the market as far as what you're going to do. Make sure you research your supply chain. I mean, find out who are the good suppliers that are heavily invested into the markets that you plan to serve and utilize them, because they can definitely help you with reducing your inventory, bringing stock in. And look at the products that you plan to make and where you seem to have demand, and then direct your business in that direction going forward. Ben shares sage advice regarding equipment and shop layout. As far as on the equipment buy side, before you have the equipment, the one thing that we always encourage people to do is whatever model of equipment, whoever you're working with, go see that piece of equipment making product in the field before you make that financial commitment. Because it doesn't matter if you were looking at a $1.5 million high-speed, highly automated ag panel line or an $80,000 one from overseas. If it's not making a product that you can sell that's consistent with what you're currently using and then reselling, even at $80,000, it's an expensive paperweight. Go see the machines making the product and feel comfortable on that side. After you have the equipment, he continues, probably the newcomer mistakes that we see would be plant flow. As you put your plant together, there's a lot to it, but it's not rocket science. What you want to have is all your raw product, your coil at one end and your finished product at the other, and it flows through so the material doesn't have to move back on itself. Now, of course, the world's not perfect. Sometimes you got to start with a facility that may not be the perfect size, but if you can go from raw to finish in a linear motion, it's a big deal. The other thing is when you're talking about facilities, no matter what equipment it is, you need a proper foundation. If you don't have a proper foundation for a flying shear, for example, it's going to eat up your concrete. If it's an uncoiler that's going to rotate, it's going to eat up your concrete. So having proper anchoring is huge. You'll spend more on the foundation, but it's important because this equipment, if it's not leveled in, it won't make product the way it needs to, the way that you expect it to. And then probably the last thing that I would say is, as you're looking at your plants, having a way to store finished bundles. because roll formers will make a lot of panel. But the key is, how do you get the finished product away from the line? If you want to do shrink wrapping, if you're going to block and band or what have you, but having a way to stage those finished bundles is a huge deal as far as being able to get product out the door. Several more important questions were addressed during the session. You'll find a continuation of the discussion in a future edition of Rollforming magazine. Equipment Independence: Low-Tech Equipment Strategies, authored by Karen Napstein. Many manufacturers can provide low-tech equipment when a metal shop doesn't want or need high-tech computer-operated metal forming machines. Users who don't want to rely on an outside power source can work with the equipment manufacturer to configure a machine that suits their needs. If someone wants to adhere to a low-tech tradition of operating without power from the outside, it's important to convey what the needs and restrictions are to the equipment manufacturer. According to Accuform's Wayne Troyer, roll formers will often ask, "How does this work?" when they should be asking, "Can you make it so we can run it this way or this way?" Equipment options. The roll former should provide the equipment manufacturer with information about features they can and can't use, including if they're able to use electricity or 12-volt or hydraulics. What a lot of manufacturers will tell them is what they can do for them, Wayne says. What the outcome may look like is the manufacturer can build the machine, put a sprocket on, and tell the roll former what RPMs the sprocket should be running at. And then it's up to the roll former to make it work. Oftentimes, someone in the community can set up the drive and powertrain to run it in a way that's feasible for them to run it. Roll formers will convert machines themselves, too. Wayne says about Accuform, "We're here to do whatever somebody wants, regardless of what they want and how they want it set up. We work with customers to give them what they want." Wayne explains the various control and power options that Accuform offers. Using an ag panel roll former as an example, if you decide to operate with electricity, it's fully automated. You wire it into your controller, hit line start, and run. If you go with hydraulic, he says, with a 12-volt powered controller, it's the exact same thing. You can fully automate it, but now you have a power unit with a diesel and hydraulic pump, so instead of bringing electric to the machine, you're bringing hydraulic to the machine. But when you're ready to run it, you have to start the diesel power engine first. You program into the controller what you need, hit line start, and you're good to go. Both electric and hydraulic are very efficient. One will work as good as the other. Sometimes the setup includes a diesel that powers a hydraulic pump. The hydraulic pump and tank create hydraulic pressure. The pressurized hydraulic oil goes in one side of the motor on the roll former and out on the other, which turns the motor. A 12-volt battery sitting by the controller controls screen. The same control panel that is used on an electric machine can be used on a hydraulic machine. There are some places where their tradition only allows them to run a smaller controller, and it can't be touchscreen, Wayne continues. If someone is allowed to have hydraulic but no control with a screen, Accuform offers a thumb wheel controller to set the length and the number of pieces. One set of wheels sets the length, and another sets number of pieces, up to 99 pieces. The thumb wheel controller lets the machine roll out, stop, and cut, just like fully automated machines, but it just doesn't have a screen. Powering a mechanical machine. On a mechanical machine, you have to have diesel power with a line shaft coming into the building. In a mechanical setup, as it comes into the building, you'll have gearboxes, belts, and pulleys running different things. A cable clutch is pulled to engage the line shaft. A lever on the roll former runs the machine forward and reverse. In some setups, the operator has to measure with a tape measure, pull out the piece, and trip the shear, making it a slower process. While lower-tech machines don't always operate at the same speed as high-tech machines, there are things that operators can do to make the most of their setup. Learning how to operate machines efficiently should be the first step. Wayne sees a lot of people use brute strength to make things go. He advises, work smarter, not harder. Heed the directions that your equipment manufacturer supplies. They know best how to operate the machines efficiently. Machine features that boost efficiency include upcut shears. If you use upcut shears versus downcut or pre-cut, you can slide the material over the next piece. You don't have to walk every piece out and come back. Cable clutches also help speed things up. What a lot of people do with mechanical machines is they have to walk back to the end of the machine to start the diesel or motor. We install cable clutches on the front of the machine where the infeed is, so you pull the lever that engages the clutch and the machine starts running. The speed and efficiency is close to that of an electric button. That's a big thing to boost efficiency, so you don't have to walk back and forth. Let the motor run on the front end, pull the lever to engage the clutch, and it's almost like hitting the start button, yet it is still mechanical. There are some common challenges that can crop up when running non-electrical machines. If the belts are loose, there may not be enough power to operate the machine effectively. Additionally, weighing cautions of potential hazards. Fumes in the shop can be a big thing if they're running engines inside the shop where they're working. Either have a separate diesel room or make sure all motors have exhaust going to the outside. Due to its weight and bulk, moving coil is also a challenge. Mechanical guys don't have forklifts. They might use a chain hoist and move coil by putting a pipe through the eye. If they're using a chain hoist to move coil, they need to be very, very careful. If anything is not exactly right, the coil can drop down and be damaged or cause severe injury. Caution and safety should always be top of mind. Regardless of the power or control options a shop chooses to use, Wayne offers advice that everyone should follow. If you're running mechanical, keep all belts, pulleys, and shafts covered and make sure everyone knows where the running parts are. Also, never reach into a running machine and always shut down machines for cleaning. When it's machine versus man, the machine is always going to win. Metal Handling Challenges, Decoilers, Tippers, and Recoilers, authored by Linda Schmid. With the demand for metal going up all the time, an important aspect of the job for the roll former, whether in the shop or on a job site, is the time it takes to run the panels. Of course, rapidity does no one any good if the panel quality is not there. When it comes to panel condition, the first thing that may come to mind is the roll former and its controls. And, of course, sometimes that is the problem, but just as important is the coil handling equipment, uncoilers, tippers, and recoilers. Decoiler dilemmas, aka uncoiler complications, ruffled coil. If your panel is ruffling or rippling on the edge, often the problem is oscillation, side-to-side movement of the coil, or the metal is pushed into the separation discs with enough force to damage the coil's edge. The first thing to check is the alignment. Align the coil with the entrance guides on the roll forming machine. Also check the distance between a portable roll forming machine and the decoiler. Often experts advise leaving 4 to 6 feet between the two. Of course, space may be an issue, but give it more space, align the coil, and see if that resolves it. If the stationary uncoiler is not aligned with the shear, you do not want to adjust the shear since that would affect the alignment with the feed table and roll former. The uncoiler alignment was set during installation, and you should consult the manufacturer before trying to adjust it. Once the decoiler is aligned, it should be fastened down. Drill holes into the concrete and use anchor bolts to hold the machine in place. Otherwise, someone will bump it and mess up the alignment. Decoiler tension and feed rate. On the job site, roll formers tend to run slower than in the shop. 40 to 50 feet per minute can be a nice clip for panels to roll off the line when installers are moving the panels to the roof's edge. Usually tension problems do not come into play at these slower speeds. If they do, contact the manufacturer for help. Faster and bigger machines are where you are more likely to experience tension problems. When working with coils, whether 3, 5, or 10,000 pounds of coil, the decoiler needs to be kept at the same feed rate as the machine it is feeding. If this has become an issue, perhaps it is time to upgrade your decoiler. Single-speed or on-off decoilers should only be used for low-speed, low-volume jobs. Decoilers are built to go with specific roll-forming machines, so there is a machine out there that is specifically built to go with the roll former that you have. These machines can sometimes be mixed and matched, but check into whether the machine can be reconfigured to work with the roll forming machine you have. Don't try to reconfigure your roll former to work with coil handling machines. Always allow the roll forming machine to be the master machine that other machines are configured around. Usually, tension on the decoiler is handled by the sensor eye or demand arm. A bit of a coil loop between machines is a good thing. If eye or arm aren't performing properly, coil can slip, torque, and become damaged. The problem people usually have is that the decoiler is running too slow. Speed it up. If it is electric, use the variable frequency drive to increase the speed. If it is hydraulic, turn up the pressure. For a mechanical machine, speed up the line shaft or change the pulleys. Incorrect braking or acceleration on a decoiler can cause too much slack or too little between the shear roll former and the decoiler. This can cause damage to coil or affect the lengths of the coil. It is properly adjusted when the material loop just touches the ground during the idle or shear time. The coil should never become taut during full line acceleration and production. Not only is it important to properly adjust infeed rolls on a pre-cut line, but also gap adjustments must be correctly adjusted to ensure engagement and drive to feed the material into the machine. Inconsistent feed rates may require readjustment of infeed rolls on a pre-cut line or gap adjustments on a post-cut line. Tipping tribulations, aka appender upsets. Tipper problems are rare according to the experts. However, a tipper can jam if the chain is loose or breaks. Check to see if trash got under the tipper or got caught up in the chain. Finally, check to see if something is jamming the electric eye so the coil is unable to decoil. Recoiler troubles, deformed panels, wrinkles, and such. These problems are about trying to channel the metal into the machine without it telescoping. Wrinkling can be caused by being trapped by side pressure. Stop the machine and reposition the coil. Check the space between the machines and make sure you have 4 to 6 feet between them. That lag usually allows the coil to find its center. Scratched panels. When panels are getting scratched in the recoiler, it is usually because there is debris of some sort on the tensioning system. Resolve this situation by stopping the machine, unplugging, and cleaning it. Remove any visible debris with a soft bristle brush or scraper. Do not use anything that could scratch the rollers. Then wipe with a soft cloth, gently and methodically cleaning all surfaces. If this is not doing the trick, you can use acetone to clean away more stubborn dirt, but take care not to bring acetone in contact with rubber seals on the bearings, or you will likely damage them. Then take a clean, damp, soft cloth to remove the acetone or soap residue. Finally, wipe the rollers with a soft, dry cloth, making sure every surface is dry before resuming machine operation. Depending on the tensioning pads, cleaning processes can change, but if you have the common felt-style pads, follow the manufacturer's instructions for safety protocols and lockout procedures. Then use a coarse brush to clean them with the grain and/or compressed air to clean the surface. Do not apply any chemical solutions. Another item to check is whether a tensioning arm's disc or something is riding atop the coil. For example, if a neoprene roll rides on top, the coil can get burrs or pick up dirt, either of which can scratch the metal. Tensioning adjustment is not pure science. It's an art. No two coils are exactly the same. You may run one coil and it's fine, and the next reacts differently. With experience, roll formers learn how to react to the coil's behavior. Coil slipping. Check that the coil core is tightened appropriately. Make sure slits are tightened equally. Ask yourself, is the core really slipping, or are the slits just coming out different lengths? Slits tend not to be the same after they are recoiled. Variable lengths. Slight variances in thickness or crowning can occur in coil as it is processed. This is generally just a few 10,000ths of an inch, but it takes up just a tiny bit more length on each of the recoiler rotations. However, the effect is cumulative. Over hundreds or thousands of feet during the recoiling process, the difference becomes noticeable. Secondary processing, such as leveling, helps even this out. Another issue could be that the slitter is not set properly or the tension adjustment stand is set incorrectly. Coil has memory, so tension is required to keep it from rolling back up. If one slit looks longer than others, less tension is required. If slits are curling up, more tension is needed. Thanks to our contributing sources: John Dumke, Rollformer LLC; Bill Griffin, Metal Rollforming Systems; Michael Clark, Bradbury Group; Wayne Troyer, Accuform; Paul Zimmerman, Hickswood. Venture Metals, End-to-End Solutions, written by Linda Schmid. Make employees your partners in growing the business. Beginning. Internships are wonderful things. They provide job opportunities to young people, and sometimes they find their life's work through that experience. Mike Urich, for example, interned at Ocon Iron and Metal while in college, and in 1986 he bought a recycling company, renamed it, and Venture Metals was born. Urich's background in chemistry comes in handy as the company collects scrap metals, including steel, alloys, copper, stainless steel, and aluminum, among other things, and breaks them down for reuse. Thanks to Urich's experience with internships, Venture has now implemented its own internship program and has successfully hired several full-time employees as a result. The small shop was challenged on its original property because it was small and it was not easy to collect and sort all the scrap metal and sell it at the same time. However, over time, they were able to move to a much larger facility to accommodate growth. Taking care of business. Mark Chazanow, who Mike worked with at Ocon Iron and Metal, joined the company in 2011, and along with his relationships, contacts, and industry experience, have expanded the business tremendously. The company is now global, serving construction, manufacturing, demolition, HVAC, fabrication, machining, energy, aerospace, utilities, and many more industries. Mark Chazanow, Vice President, described Venture Metals' mission this way: "We capture scrap at source, collect it, process it, and send it to a location that melts it down into a new product to complete the cycle. It is a circular economy. We are an end-to-end solutions provider." Achievements. The company has received numerous awards for its excellent customer and supplier service. They earned ISO 9001 certification in 2015 and are proud of their first-of-its-kind safety program. Venture Metals is expanding and developing corporate accounts around the world, no doubt in part because of its emphasis on care. A sign of growth. The company that started with 5 employees now has more than 400. We are all in this together. Today, everyone wants to know how to attract and retain quality employees. Venture Metals has a clear opinion on this matter. They believe in making employees part of the company's plans so they can become partners in a growing culture. That means giving employees access to managers and others who can teach them the business and help them become an important part of the team. It also means showing employees that you are willing to make a substantial investment in their training to help them succeed. The culture is very relationship-based, Chazanow said, with great support and communication both internally and externally. Of course, this type of company culture is very attractive to many potential employees. It is also difficult to maintain during periods of high growth. The company grew steadily for many years. Now it is growing at an almost inconceivable rate, Chazanow said. Where is Venture Metals going? One piece of advice the company could have used 5 or 10 years ago is to attract and develop more talent to prepare for all this growth. The rapid growth is likely a sign of the industry's future. Chazanow believes the industry will continue to be very important as we strive for a sustainable future and manufacture more and more components from recycled materials. Chazanow not only expects the industry to grow, but also sees huge expansion for Venture Metals in all directions of the map. CSI, Help Us Help You, Take the Annual Survey, authored by Gary Reichert. It is almost time for our annual CSI survey release. Our magazines go to the printer several weeks before they mail to you. As I write this column, the election is over, and we will be sending the survey before you receive this in the mail. or you can access the results through any of our magazine websites. The intent of our survey is to gauge market sentiment for the coming year. As the choice of president will have a huge effect, we are holding off releasing the survey until after the election and the emotion returns to normal. With that in mind, we plan to release the survey the week of November 11th. We believe data is necessary to make good business decisions. If you see value in data for our markets and use this information in any way, there are a few simple things you can do to help. First and foremost, take the survey. The more responses we have, the more complete the data. Tell people and share this information. The more people who know about this, the more people who will take the survey. The more people who take the survey, the better the quality of the data we can provide. If you are a dealer, distributor, or manufacturer, consider sponsoring a section. If you look at the metrics, this CSI annual and market report and our directory are the most cost-effective products we have to reach our audience. Thank you for your confidence and support as we continue to grow and support the industries we serve. Please complete the survey at www.surveymonkey.com/2025 CSI survey and share it with your colleagues. A larger survey sample generates more reliable information.